Good morning. Today we are going to give everyone a presentation about the Canadian confectionery industry. I will give the general information and the major categories in the confectionery industry. So confectionery industry is the manufacturing sector and made up of companies primarily involved in processing candies, chocolate, and coconut products, and chewing gum. Canadian confectionery manufacturing became the important industry begun at 80s. So there are some historical options which are McCormick's LED was established in London in 1857. Robertson Brothers LED was in the candy business in Toronto by 1864, and Gannol Brothers opened in St. Stephen, New Brunswick in 1873. So at the same year, Maror LED, which was originally a factory, started candy production in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Robert Wilson Company began in Toronto in 1874, and Verlatte was in production in Montreal in 1879. As we mentioned before, confectionery industry's major categories are candy, chocolate, coconut, and chewing gum. Everyday chocolate is another category for confectionery industry. The following data clearly explain this. Chocolate accounted for approximately 59% of this market, with the remainder comprised of sugar candy, which is 20%, chewing gum 17%, and everyday drops 4%. Next, Tian will give more information about our presentation. Welcome.
Thanks, Hank. I will talk about the size and the structure of confectionery industry. Based on the statistics data, there are 106 establishments in the Canadian confectionery industry, and around 10,411 people are working in it. The confectionery industry has representation in all regions of Canada. The size of production facilities range from small 1 or 2 person seasonal operations to large plant employing up to 1,000 people. Most sugar confectionery companies are small or medium-sized and produce the different kinds of products. In addition, most chocolate operations are large and divided to 3 product categories: boxed chocolate, chocolate bars, and seasonal novelties. Moreover, in the confectionery industry, firms' brand name, advertising, and promotion, specialty products, quality, and cost are basic elements for their business competitions. Next, let us move to the confectionery industry's growing history. Before the mid-1980s, the Canadian confectionery subsector had focused on serving the domestic market only. In 1988, less than 12% of shipments were exported, but imports accounted for the domestic market share of about 24%. However, in the late 1980s, the Canadian confectionery industry changed its structure and performance. They enhanced the global integration of economies. These changes stimulated by global trade, liberalization, and multilateral negotiations that led to the development of the new World Trade Organization. The industry also became more aware of the potential for utilizing the export opportunities. At the same time, the domestic market were displaying limited growth, and by 1996, exports showed about 28% of confectionery shipments. Overall, the confectionery industry has modified well to the more open global trading environment through a series of the rationalization, which are resulted in more efficient and specialized operations. Next, welcome to Gaoya talk about the confectionery industry's value chain.
Okay, thanks, Yuan. The entry value chain from the first step of the manufacturing process to sale of finished products include raw materials and packaging. According to the case Ganon Brothers Limited, chocolate is made from cocoa beans. It involves process which included roasting the beans, refishing the chocolate liquid, conching the mixture, and finally molding. Some of the more common processes in the manufacture of sugar confectionery product include using a starch mogul, penning, and extrusion. For the packaging part, different chocolate and candies need to be packed into cellophane bags or boxes. The sugar candies are typically filled automatically by machine, and it can control by weight of the bags. Chocolate bars are wrapped automatically by machine, but boxes of chocolate are packed by hand. For the distribution, traditionally manufacturers distribute product to a large number of small, usually located on retailer. However, in Canada, the retail industry were consolidated. Next, welcome Cao Jia talking about national economic emergency.
Thank you, Wendy. Good morning, classmates. My point is about the national economic emergency. The Canadian confectionery industry faces a new challenge, which is the national economic emergency. At the end of 2006, Canadian dollar was dramatically raised 35% from its low point, 62 cents. In the 2006, Canadian dollar had increased 25%, that against the American dollars. In fact, high Canadian dollars directly impacted many Canadian business, especially for the exports. Manufacturing and the export of the manufactured goods still account for the vast of measure of the Canadian economic market. For example, the revenue that is Canadian manufacturing received was worth Canadian dollar $1.17 per US dollar at the start of this year. Now, it is the same US dollar is worth only 93 cents. This is equivalent to the 20% price cut. Unless this manufacturer was marketing a profit margin over the 20%, then this manufacturer would now be losing the money. I will pass to Yang to talking about more information about the economics. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. And in the same way, let us consider about this Canadian manufacturer that export most of the production to US at the Canadian dollar becomes more valuable. The cost of Americans of buying Canadian products will increase. On the other hand, Canadian companies might keep their US dollar price constant that in order to competing market share. However, since they would receive fewer Canadian dollars per US dollars, total revenues and thus total profits would fall. At the same time, many Canadian companies that may not export but do compete in the domestic market against US products will have a more difficult time doing so, as a higher exchange rate lowers the relative cost of foreign goods. Therefore, the Canadian manufacturers also cannot only sell their product in Canada, because customers were more likely to choose the cheap imports better than local products. Moreover, those factories cannot just sell their products to other countries. US was the largest trading partner of Canada because their geography and culture were really closely linked. Thanks for listening. And any questions?